Hello everyone and welcome to the next HSC Sim tutorial. In this tutorial we will learn how to use the scenario editor to calculate different scenarios for your flowsheet, and also how to use the table tool to draw tables for your flowsheet which show different kinds of information about the process. And also we will learn how to use the equilibrium calculations with the distribution unit. Let's start by creating the flow sheet of the process. So here we have the task listed, what we want to study. In this case, we want to study the ammonia formation in different temperatures and pressures. So we start to do the flow sheet. We use the distribution unit with one input and one output. Ammonia reactor, input gas and process gas. Okay. And then we go inside the unit operation and define the actual inputs and the unit operation itself. So we have the N2 and H2, and we had 50-50 and then 100 cubic meters like this, and temperature, okay, we keep the input temperature 25, and then as for the output we write the possible species that can form. So we have the ammonia and we have the hydrogen gas and nitrogen gas. We change the measurement unit to normal cubic meters here too. We don't change this temperature here because we will use this equilibrium mode in this case as noted in the task. I press here convert to the equilibrium mode, and once you do this the unit will create another sheet here named GIB sheet, and in this GIB sheet we can see the result of the equilibrium calculations. So with these inputs now the results are something like this. We can also see it in the output sheet, but in the GIB sheet we can also change the temperature and pressure and see how it affects the outcome of the equilibrium. So for example, I can write here 100, I can see that the results change. Okay, and next we can start to go to the scenario editor itself to define the calculation scenarios mentioned here. So we want to set the temperature and we want to set the pressure for the process. So in the scenario editor we have these insert reference cells over here where we need to get the reference of the cells we want to either set or follow. So in this case I have the temperature and I copied the cell reference and I paste it here. And then the pressure, I do the same, copy cell reference and paste. And I need to write the variable names for those and also the measurement units. And this also I need to say whether I change that value or whether I collect the value. In this case I want to set these values, and I start with the temperature of 300 and then change the pressure in there from 10 to 100. After that we need to collect the cells with the information that we want to study during the calculation. So in this case it's probably the process gas composition here, and now in HSC you can actually copy cell reference area. So I can select an area and copy cell reference Here, if I want to add area of cells, I cannot now use directly the paste cell reference. I have to use the add cell references. If I press here, the program will automatically bring all the cells on this horizontal row. So now I got the references from here, and I will name them. So we have the process gas total, and then we have the ammonia, hydrogen, and nitrogen. We have the same measurement unit, so I copy that there. And this cell is not set type, this is get type. You can also just write G and press enter, and it will do the same. Okay. So now we can test out how it works. We can run the selected scenario. And now we can see that with these calculations, with these set values, we get these results. In the scenario editor, there is the charts panel here, where we can insert some data from the calculated scenario. So I press here edit chart data, and I want to set the pressure as the X and the components to the Y. I press OK, and I get this kind of chart. Okay, the results, okay, they seem reasonable. So when we increase the pressure, we get more ammonia gas in the process with 300 degrees of temperature. Then we also want to study how it behaves in 400 and 500 degrees. So we could create new scenario and then do it from scratch, but we don't want to do that because we have this clone scenario tool here, and when I press it, it will create another scenario with exactly the same references and values. And now I can just easily change the temperature to 400 and then clone again and then change it to 500. So now I have three scenarios, 300, 400, 500, where I change the pressure in each one. Now I can press this run all scenarios button here, and it will run all the scenarios from the first to the last. And if I want to see all the results here at the same time, I can just create a couple of more charts, edit data, and then from the scenario 2 I select the same values for the second one, and from the scenario 3 I select the same values for the third one. I press OK, and now I can see these kind of results here. So from the results we can quickly see how the temperature affects and how the pressure affects the results of the ammonia reactor. And because this is done with the equilibrium, so it doesn't take into account the kinetics or any other details about the process. So these results are just purely thermodynamical results. Next, let's close these and create the table for our flow sheet, which shows information about the temperature and composition of the ammonia reactor. So we create the table by drawing it here, normally drag and drop, and then when you double click it, you get this table editor open. And here we can now write what we want to show. So temperature and pressure, we insert a couple of more rows, make them of equal height, and then the ammonia gas, hydrogen gas, and nitrogen gas. I will also insert the measurement unit here in the parentheses. Like this, and here and here. Okay. Then I need to go and collect the values a little bit in the similar way as with the scenario editor. I go inside the unit and I copy cell references. So in this case I can again copy an area and I can paste the area here. And then as for the composition, I can also copy the area and paste it here. Okay, now I got the results to the table. Next, maybe I want to change number formatting a little bit, so I decrease decimals here. And okay, that's it. So I close the table now, the table editor, and now I have it on the flow sheet and I can move it around the same as with the units, and I can always see the current information of the process here. So now I can go inside the unit and change the temperature to 400, and I can see that it changed here. The tables have one special functionality in HSC. So if you have this kind of reference here and I write a value on top of it, it will not actually overwrite the reference, but it will insert the value into the reference. So if I now go here and look what's the value here, it is 500. So you can also use these tables to control these values if you want. It is also usually a good idea to somehow indicate that which values the user can change and which they cannot. So for example, these values we can change. So I go to format cells, I change the font color, for example, to dark cyan. And then for these values I want to note that they cannot be changed, so I go and change the interior color to gray. Okay. So now you have learned how to use the scenario editor in HSC Sim to create different calculation scenarios and how to show the results in charts with it. Also how to use the tables. So now you can draw your own tables and insert whatever data from the process you want inside to that table. We also learned how to use the equilibrium calculations in this distribution unit. And this concludes this tutorial. Thank you for watching.